The Sports Scouting Report with Lee Brecheen. Brought to you by Medine's Collision Center in Baton Rouge. Take control, choose Medine's. Grosse Savant Lodge, south of Lake Charles, the true sportsman's paradise. Treads and Care Company in Central, the tires you need, the service you want. Harvey Auto in Shreveport, Bossier City, the name you have trusted for years. And Gage in Baton Rouge. Get better connected with Gage. Here's your host, Lee Brecheen.
Hi everyone, I'm Lee Brecheen, your host of Sports Scouting Report. We got a great show today. We have Istrouma's head football coach, Jeremy Gradney, and he's also got his top recruit, Ladarius Jones, who's going to be an upcoming senior. This kid's phenomenal. He's a four-year starter, big-time stud, tight end, receiver, linebacker, DN, whatever you want to put him in college. He's going to be an NFL player. We also have former LSU strength coach, Tommy Moffitt, who was a part of 3 national championships at LSU, one at Miami and one at Tennessee. 5 national championships as a strength coach. We'll have much more. We'll talk about the baseball state championships, who won, and we'll have much more with our guests. We'll be right back.
Listen, whatever you're driving right now, Tommy Harvey wants it. Bring it in to Harvey Subaru, Lexus of Shreveport, Bossier City, or John Harvey Toyota. They're paying big bucks for all trades right now. They'll cut you a check right there. Tell them Lee sent you. If you need a paint job or repairs to your vehicle, go see Medine's Collision Center located in Baton Rouge, Louisiana on Kincaid Avenue. The number to call is 357-7983. That's 357-7983. Your Baton Rouge Accident Advisors.
Welcome back. Lee Brecheen, your host of Sports Scouting Report. Our first guest is one of the top recruits in the state of Louisiana. As a freshman, he was 6'3", 215, playing receiver, not tight end, receiver. I'm talking about flanker, out wide, 215, 6'3". A grown man as a true freshman, but want to introduce. Tell everybody your name.
Well, I'm Ladarius. Hey, how y'all doing?
Istrouma High School.
Istrouma High School. What is that, baby?
Istrouma High School. You're the first Istrouma player to come on this year, and you've got a great future, man. Thanks for joining us.
Yes, sir.
I know your coach will be joining us later, Coach Jeremy Gradney, and then Tommy Moffitt, one of the most world-renowned strength coaches in the country, is here too. And I know Tommy's probably looking at you like, that's a guy that's already carved. When did you know that, I mean, at 215 as a 14-year-old playing varsity in 4A, 5A football, you're dominating as a freshman physically.
Yes, sir.
But, I mean, what was it like for you to be a freshman and start for Istrouma every game?
Well, it started off real slow because, I had to get adapt to the high school football, because me just coming out of straight middle school to high school varsity football. So basically I took it slow, did what my coaches told me, and I'm here now.
You got football speed for a big man. I mean, you take those long strides and you're always making people around you look slow, and yet you carry the mass. Now you're 260, you told me.
Yes, sir.
6'3" and some change, and you're now playing some DN, which colleges love that.
Yes, sir.
So what do you like more? You've now transitioned to that tight end role, and you can still play receiver at 260, which is scary.
Yes, sir.
But what do you like most as a football player now that you're playing a little defense?
It's really, I say defense more, but really anywhere, because I just love the game, really. Anywhere my coaches put me, I play it.
You're pretty physical as a receiver, so is that changing over to the defensive side of the ball? Because
yes, sir.
You like hitting people?
Yes, sir. Love contact.
Because I don't see anybody wanting to tackle you as a receiver. I mean, you're a tough guy. I mean, you're a big guy that can move. And what impressed me, you didn't go down on any hit the first contact.
Yes, sir.
I mean, it just seems like you were rubber. They just bounced off. You just kept going.
Yes,
and your hands, where'd you get these hands?
I say Walmart, but still.
I mean, because you got great hands for a big guy, too.
Yes, sir.
I remember watching, as a young guy, Keith Jackson play at Arkansas. I know you probably before your time, but he was about a 6'2", 260 tight end, but they lined him up at receiver at Arkansas.
Yes, sir. And
I remember watching those corners at 5'10", 160, try to guard Keith Jackson. He ran a 4.59, I believe. and he owned college football for about 3 years. But you've got that body, and you told me that a lot of colleges are looking at you as an H-back.
Yes, sir.
Which is really that hybrid tight end. What do you think of that?
I mean, it'd be one of my favorites, but you know, defensive side, I done fell in love with the defense, but whatever the coaches want me at is where I'm at.
Football speed, you look 4.5. I'm just talking, and I know Moffett would appreciate that because there's that football speed. Hand time, you're still fast. What have you been running the last few times?
Last 40, I think was a 4.8, 4.82.
At 260, that's moving.
Yes, sir.
And when you were 220, you were running what? Consistent 4.5s?
Yes, sir. I'd say I wouldn't say a 4.5, but a
4.6,
nice 4.7, 4.6.
4.69?
Yes, sir.
Sounds better. But what's crazy, though, if you get back down to 240 and someone like Tommy Moffitt gets a hold of you,
yes, sir,
you're going to be back in that 4.6 range. That's the kind of game that you have, and you give high effort. Talk about Istrouma, the Indians. I mean, y'all came back as a school. You were a part of that from almost the beginning of coming back, almost.
Yes, sir.
And your coach now, Jeremy Gradney, was there back with the team before they even competed in the LHSA again.
Yes, sir.
What's it like to see Istrouma back playing football?
Oh, it's wonderful. Well, we got great coaches. I'd say great. They're like family. So really with the football situation, it'll be really better with the Istrouma because we adapt and take everything in. So with that, I'd say the family, we a tough family, tough team. We young. So we are coming to prove something this year, for sure.
And what is it like to play both sides of football? Because numbers-wise, even though y'all might dress 35 kids, maybe the same 17, 16 play.
Yes, sir.
And y'all have to play Zachary and Scotlandville and all these teams that dress 80, 90 kids. Do you think that helps you for the next level, that you don't leave the field?
Yes, sir. Got to stay hungry. Got to stay hungry. Yeah, I always got another person to take your spot, so you got to stay hungry.
So college, you can never have too many reps.
No, sir.
You're used to playing 80, 90 reps a game.
Yes, sir.
Or 100, huh?
You
Close
can say
to
that.
100?
Close.
Who is your idol growing up, football-wise? Do you have one?
Yes, sir. I'd say right now is Bobby Wagner.
Okay, that's a good one.
Yeah, he's nice.
Seattle Seahawks.
Yes, sir. Fan.
Built kind of like you.
Yes, sir.
College-wise, you told me you really don't have a school that's maybe the school. It sounds like you're pretty open to colleges.
Yes, sir.
You told me ULL, ULM have come by. What do you think of the LSUs and Alabamas, the Floridas and Georgias and all those schools?
Oh, I'd be happy to get an offer, really, because, I'm willing to play anywhere. I'm always working to find a new home.
How important is it to stay close to home to mom and dad or go far off? Does it matter?
It really doesn't matter because where I go, she going to travel with me.
Okay. Your pennant, tell everybody about your pennant. Your brother, Roderick,
yes, sir,
passed away. He was a phenomenal football player and also a great player at Istrouma. Talk about playing for this season. I know you're going to be playing for your brother this year.
Well, I know he had a lot of things before he left. He was going to for surely make it this year. So I got to take that in and make sure his family and my family straight. So I got that weight on my back.
I wish I could have saw those battles in practice, you and your brother.
Yes, sir.
Him being 6'3.5", 300 mobile. You being 230 at the time, maybe 6'3",
yes,
some
sir.
change. But anything you want to say, anybody you want to talk about or give a shout out to that's helped you along the way? Ladarius, and I want to tell everybody Jones now. You said your first name, but remember that name. But
yes,
anybody you want to
I shout out to my moms and my brother and my coaches, they family, which it is. It's all family. Now it's not even about the football. We family.
Name a team you can't wait to play when you hear the game's going to be Friday night. All of them?
All of them. Ready to dominate.
Man, that is a great coaching answer. Your coach is smiling now from ear to ear. All of them, you heard that? All 10 and then hopefully 15.
Yes, sir.
Because that means y'all would go to the state championship game. Good to meet you, man.
Nice to meet you, too.
Good to meet you. Remember this name. This is a good kid, 4-year starter. Ladarius Jones can play 5 positions. and really good kid. I think he's going to be a great player at the next level. Next, we're going to have Coach Jeremy Gradney, his coach at Istrouma. And we've got Tommy Moffitt with us today. We're going to talk strength and conditioning, and we're going to try and get his background in the show, which I don't think we're going to be able to talk about everything. There's so much to talk about. We'll be right back.
Be sure to take your car and truck for all your tire needs to Treads and Care Tire Company located in Central. The number to call is 331-8144. Family owned and operated since 1971. That's Treads and Care Tire Company. Gros Savon Lodge, the true sportsman's paradise. Gros Savon Lodge has fresh and saltwater fishing, alligator hunting, waterfowl hunting, and eco tours. Located south of Lake Charles, Louisiana. Give them a call at 337-598-2357. That number to call again is 337-598-2357, and have the time of your life.
Welcome back. Lee Brecheen, the host of the Sports Scouting Report. Hope you're enjoying the show. Ladarius Jones is one of the top players in the state, and I don't get caught up in rankings. I'm old school. You know, I came up in the 80s and 70s. And just go to a game, watch football players, guys that can play the game. Maybe they don't have the measurables, maybe they don't hand time as well, but they have good football speed. This kid has all of it. And Istrouma High School, and his coach knows all about what I'm talking about because he's around him every day. But I want to welcome Jeremy Gradney, head coach of Istrouma.
How you doing? Thank you for having me.
I remember talking to you, Coach, 5 years ago, maybe 6 years ago, and you texted me. You said, Coach, you said, Lee, Istruma's coming back.
No doubt.
We are coming back. I remember you saying we have a JV team.
Right.
I'm coaching them.
No doubt.
I've got some special kids, and I just want you to know that we're going to be back in the LHSA because Istrouma had closed down, rebuilt the school. Sure enough, you've still been there that whole time since bringing Istrouma back with the new school, and then a lot of those kids had just graduated last year.
Right.
What has it been like for you, being a Woodlawn graduate in the early 2000s, being at Istrouma, seeing it come back from the ground up?
No doubt. I mean, being born and raised here in East Baton Rouge Parish, I know the tradition Istrouma had. They always had tremendous talent. They had tremendous history. I mean, from Heisman candidate, Heisman Trophy winner, Billy Cannon. And I mean, the list goes on and on in regards to the tradition. So I was just blessed to have the opportunity to lead Istrouma as the head football coach, and it's just been a tremendous blessing for me.
I remember when I was in high school, my family, my dad went to Istrouma, and my mom went to Istrouma.
Yeah.
And I grew up in Central, and we played Istrouma every year, and I'm like, whoa. We're going to have a battle.
No doubt.
They're going to be big, fast, strong.
No doubt.
Track, when I ran track, they always had some of the best track guys.
Yeah.
You had a big-time running back signed with A&M last year, Le'Veon Moss.
Yeah.
And then here's an old one to throw out. George Rice was an All-American at LSU, went to Istrouma, was an All-Pro in the NFL. I mean, it's just, like you said, there's like 500 D1 players from Big and Little Fuzzy Brown, the coaches of Istrouma back in the day?
I mean, the list goes on and on. I mean, you have so many great athletes that came through Istrouma High School, and we just want to keep that tradition going. I believe we're one of the best kept secrets around, to be quite honest. But we're very fortunate that a lot of the colleges are paying some attention to us, and they're coming, showing their faces, and they definitely want to know what we have coming up.
Well, I remember you telling me this. 5 years ago, you said, I have a freshman running back.
Yes.
That hadn't played a game yet.
Yeah.
And you said, Lee, I'm telling you, he's got a little Leonard Fournette in him.
And you know what?
Le'Veon Moss.
Yes. So I reached out to a couple colleges. I won't say who they were, but I say, hey, look, I have a running back. We're on the JV right now, but I think you probably want to check him out. And lo and behold, I don't know how seriously they took that. But he became eventually number 5 running back in the country. Yeah. I think they listen when I call now.
You shooting him straight. You know? You telling me, you said, I said, well, Coach, how big is he? And you said, oh, right now he's 6 foot 190.
Yeah.
I said,
right.
True freshman running back. I said, what's he running? Yeah. He said, oh, he's running 4.5 now.
Right.
Which is not normal for a 14-year-old.
No.
Now he's 210, 205, 6 foot, 6'1".
Right.
Texas A&M, I know LSU fans are going to have to see him in the next 3 years, but
Yeah,
he would it shock you, because they have a lot of good backs at A&M, like all these schools, but through fall practice, he might end up being that one of them 3 guys.
Hey,
he
definitely has the ability, and I will say, the tremendous task and adversity that he's faced as a high school player.
Yeah.
I mean, it won't be foreign to him. I mean, college is going to be a totally different level, as we know. But as far as the adversity, he's been through so much, and the will to compete. I think he'll be fine on that end for sure.
What I like too, Coach, is he didn't complain to you when you gave him the ball 30 times in a game.
Oh no,
because y'all had so many players to play.
Right.
And I remember watching your game against Terra. He must have got the ball almost 40 times, and he played some linebacker for you.
That was a character testing game where we went down within like the last minute and 30 seconds, and everyone could have hung their heads and gave up, but the guys continued to fight, and Lev ended up scoring the touchdown to put us over the top. So
that was a heck of a game.
It was big. That was a big game. Scary at the time, but hey, we got through it,
I don't know if you remember this, Coach, with Marcus Allen when he ran at USC, and with the Oakland Raiders, I keep wanting to say Oakland, it's Las Vegas Raiders.
Yeah.
He ran so smooth.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just
real graceful.
Just gracefully.
Right.
That's Le'Veon Moss.
No doubt.
Your recruit that just came on, Ladarius Jones, your talented young kid. He's been with you 4 years, starting all 4 years.
No doubt.
What do you think of his game? Obviously, he's a great kid.
I think Ladarius has done a tremendous job, and he's made tremendous gains, and he's that player that we can put in several different roles. As a matter of fact, he started out at receiver, not tight end, not H. He started out at wide. Yes, that's correct. So he started out as receiver, did a tremendous job. He was actually the youngest out of our receiving corps, and he did well. However, I always like to think about our kids going to the next level. Yeah. And I knew he can probably be more productive at defense, on the defensive side of the ball. Yeah. We know he has ability on the offensive side, but on the collegiate level, he may get an opportunity to play.
More versatile.
No doubt. And we made the transition and started implementing him on defense, and he just kind of flourished from there.
Now, I didn't ask him this, but who's the strongest guy on the team? Would it be him?
Yeah, he's definitely
naturally strong. Huh?
Yeah.
In the college weight room, scary.
Oh yeah, he'll go to the college weight room and he'll turn some heads for sure.
Probably hit that 4.0 on the bench easily.
Within the next year or so, he
like Moffett would say, not all 400 at once. He those reps.
Within the next year, he'll make tremendous gains.
The 225.
That's a warm up to him. Yeah, 225 is a warm up. So
he's probably hitting the 18 reps now on the
225. Easy.
Not bad. Yeah. We're going to come back with Coach Gradney from Istrouma High School, Jeremy. We're talking about his days at Woodlawn. He played with Contrell Gransberry, who, by the way, was a 6'8", 240-pound receiver. Not tight end.
No doubt.
Back in the early 2000s, and we'll talk about the current team coming back. We got Tommy Moffitt joining us after that, and we'll talk about strength and conditioning and speed work. He's the king, the legend. We'll ask him about Gail Hatch. We'll ask him about John Curtis, LSU, Miami, Tennessee, where he's from. We'll talk about where he grew up. We'll be right back.
Gage has served Louisiana for over 40 years. Let Gage create a custom-tailored solution for your business and become your partner in technology. Give them a call today at 225-753-4243 and help your business get better connected with Gage. Looking for a used car? Harvey Autos has 3 dealerships, which means 3 times the used vehicles. They've got everything from fuel-efficient compacts to luxury models, even hybrids, and certified pre-owned with a warranty. Check out John Harvey Toyota, Harvey Subaru, or Lexus of Shreveport, Bossier City.
Welcome back. Lee Brecheen, your host of Sports Scouting Report. We've got head coach Jeremy Gradney from Istrouma High School. You met Ladarius Jones, who's athlete. He's everywhere on the field for Istrouma. He's been 4-year starter, never leaves the game, knows Gatorade better than anybody because of not leaving the field. And wouldn't shock me if he punted and kicked, huh, Coach, at some point?
Don't be shocked if he punts and kicks.
I don't want to try and block a punt with Mr. Ladarius Jones at 260, 6'3", athletic. Notable alumni, Eddie Lambert, politician Woody Jenkins, politician from Istrouma, Ivory Tolson, academic, former executive director of the White House Initiative, historic black colleges and universities. Elton Veals, when I was a kid, he was a heck of a running back at Istrouma, a legend in Baton Rouge. Elton Veals went on to do well in the NFL. Coach, your days at Woodlawn. Woodlawn's had some great teams, but we were talking about the early 2000s, 03, 04. You were on that team.
No doubt.
You played starting with Benny Saya,
right,
and then you finished with
Coach
Drew Nettles.
Yeah.
He's now the receivers coach at Zachary.
Right.
But Drew, that was one of his first job, I think first head coaching job.
So Coach Nettles was the DB coach prior to my junior year, and he was head baseball, from my understanding. But Coach Saya went to take the Dutchtown job, and that's when Coach Nettles got the head coaching job at Woodlawn, and went 9-1 as his first year as a head football coach. So tremendous kudos goes to Coach Nettles, knowing now what I know now as the head football coach, the challenges that comes along with that. So.
You made Drew Nettles' day when he watches us on his phone at Zachary High School.
Hey man, I want to shout out.
When he gets a minute away with Brewerton and that group.
No doubt. Shout out Coach Benny Saya and Coach Drew Nettles, man, my two high school coaches.
And prior to them, Coach Mook. Coach Mook was there prior.
No, I didn't know Coach Mook. That was a little bit before me, yeah.
And then he ended up going to Episcopal and later on. But that 03 team, Kentrell Gransberry, 6'8", 240 receiver. Mack at receiver, 6'3", 190.
No doubt.
You had a couple of other 6'3" receivers. They all went college basketball D1.
Right.
And then you're playing on this team.
I was a role guy, man. I was, I spared them guys when they got tired. But man, even our quarterback, Billy Ferris went to the pros, man. He went for, went to Cincinnati Bengals for a little bit.
He was 6'2", what, 200 pounds?
6'2", more like 190 in high school, man. But I mean, that's
he could throw it, spin it.
Yeah, man. So we had tremendous talent, man, and it's just you just never forget those days. My best friend was on that team. Took a different route in life. But just the way high school goes, man, it sticks with you for the rest of your life.
If I'm not mistaken, and he wasn't a D1 recruit, but former LSU quarterback Alan Risher's kid was on that team.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Chad
Risher.
Right? Yeah, he was part of that squad as well.
He was a receiver.
And
he was coming off the bench for all these guys.
Hey man, our backup running back ran a 4.38, man. So tremendous talent.
Those are years you'll never forget. High school.
No, you don't forget that, man. My best friend, one of my best friends, he volunteers coaches with me. He started fullback on that team. Marcel Bagnier, Rashawn Jacobs.
Oh, it's another big time D1
teammate of mine. As a matter of fact, I was behind Rashawn my junior year. He was a head basketball coach in Louisiana for quite some time and went to play at UL Monroe.
Yeah.
Yeah, man, some good days, man. A lot of good people. I can't name all those guys, man. Big Fletch. I don't know if you remember Big Fletch, but played at the Citadel.
You're still 25 years old, huh?
I wish I was 25, man. I'll be 36 this year, man. So.
Well, you got the passion. You can tell Coach loves the game, and we need more coaches like Coach Gradney to coach young men today. And the sport needs people going into the profession to keep football what it is today. And look, we'll talk about baseball later in the show. I love baseball. But football my dad was a youth league coach growing up, and if I didn't like football, I would have to look for a new home.
Oh, no doubt.
Growing up.
Football saves so many lives in Louisiana, I mean, across the world, to be quite honest. I mean, I was one of those kids that, football was a deep passion, and school wasn't primarily a major motivating.
Sports kept you interested in
Sports
school.
kept me. As long as I can play ball, then I had a reason to do the other things. And once I graduated from high school, then it led to, okay, I can pursue college and stuff like that. But ultimately, high school sports is what motivated me to want to be successful.
Coach, I want to mention, changing the subject, you've had a tough off season.
Oh, yeah.
Really tough, and this is something coaches don't prepare for as high school coaches, college coaches, but two of your players passed away this offseason.
Yeah.
And one is the brother of Ladarius Jones that came on today, but that's tough. It's been some tough times.
I've never faced such tremendous adversity, losing 2 players in 3 months, 2 team captains. Not, these aren't guys that you only see once a week. These guys are
family, faces
of your program. They're family, man, and it shook our guys, shook everyone, and there was tremendous losses. But we find strength in those times of adversity, and it brought the guys closer. Their loss isn't, falling for nothing. Tremendous. You learn to live every day and live and do the right things for those guys. And I believe that you carry out a legacy by doing well. Yeah. You do those things that will make your lost loved ones proud.
We mentioned Roderick Cooks, the brother.
Yeah.
But the other kid, mentioned the other kid's name.
Travis Wright.
Travis Wright.
And Travis Wright received his first offer this past summer from Arkansas. Monticello was the first one. He was a tremendous player. Roderick Cook.
Big time O-line.
Many schools were interested in Roderick Cook. It's just unfortunate that,
the kids will be playing for them all year long.
No doubt.
It's going to be this extra motivation to have a great year. Coach, you do a great job. You might dress 25 some weeks with injuries. You might dress 20. If you get them all out there, you might have 30.
No doubt.
You might play the same 15, 16 kids the whole game. And I've got a lot of respect for you as a coach to not have a lot of guys and play in the 4A and play 5A teams, which is really hard.
And you learn so much. And one thing I'm thankful for, even though it's challenges when you have low numbers.
Yeah.
The beautiful thing, a lot of kids that wouldn't get opportunities at many places, they can come. I got guys who've gotten scholarships.
Yeah.
That never thought about playing football. They left with college football scholarships. And you got guys who get an opportunity to play that may not get an opportunity on a 100-man roster or whatever the case. So as tough as it may be, a lot of opportunities are presented with smaller teams.
Well, if you go to Istrouma High School and you watch this show, you're in grades 9, 10, and 11,
no doubt,
and you've got some skills to play sports, you need to go put the pads on and
give
play
it a
football.
shot. Give it a shot.
Because they're winning even with small numbers, so they need to get just 10 or 15 away to turn it really around.
The more kids you're gonna be in trouble. Well, I'll tell you what. I'll say this. Our number 5 running back in the country came from another school. He didn't get a helmet at another school. He came over there. He became an All-American. Take that for whatever you want.
Yeah, and he stayed.
He didn't go anywhere.
He stayed.
Yeah, I mean, so sometimes your value is, sometimes your value is different according to where you are.
Yeah.
If you're working a job, hey, they may pay you this amount.
Yeah.
But another job may pay you a whole different salary.
If a college coach is watching, they're going to be recruiting you pretty soon, Coach.
Hey.
I mean, there's a lot of guys that are moving up from high school, but we want you to stay in high school as long as you can.
Yes, sir.
Our next guest, he was at a high school a long time at John Curtis and moved his way up to Tennessee and LSU for many years, Tommy Moffitt. So it all starts in high school.
Louisiana legend, man. Been hearing about Coach Moffett since I was in middle school, man. So
there you go.
Yes, indeed, Louisiana legend.
Coach Gradney, thank you, man.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. And one of the top young coaches in the state. Go out and support the Indians, the Istrouma Indians. Nobody has more history than Istrouma in Baton Rouge. And growing up, all I heard was Big and Little Fuzzy Brown growing up from my dad.
Yeah.
And Billy Cannon, the late Billy Cannon, and so many great players, Donnie Bozeman and George Rice, and now Le'Veon Moss, now Ladarius Jones.
Yeah.
We're going to be back with Coach Tommy Moffitt in just a minute.
If you need a paint job or repairs to your vehicle, you've got to go to Madine's Collision Center, located in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, on Kincaid Avenue. The number to call is 357-7983. That's 357-7983. Family owned since the 1960s. Be sure to take your car and truck for all your tire needs to Treads & Care Tire Company, located in Central. Call 331-8144. Family owned and operated. It's 1971. That's 331-8144.
Welcome back. Lee Brecheen, your host of Sports Scouting Report. About 15 years ago, I was fortunate enough to have a guest on my TV show. We were doing it on Cox 4, which became Your View, and then we broke off, and now we're doing our own show. By the way, you can watch it on YouTube, any apps where you get your podcast. Podbean is what we carry it. And we had a really well-known guy by the name of Tommy Moffitt come on, strength and conditioning, LSU. Well, today, 15 years later, Tommy Moffitt joins us. We're going to do a great interview with Tommy about where he's from, and that's the state of Tennessee. A lot of people don't know that, but he's from Tennessee, Summerville, Tennessee, graduate, Tennessee Tech. A lot of people might not know that, because when they think of Tommy Moffitt, they think of LSU, the Tennessee Volunteers. He was there a little bit, by the way, with Peyton Manning and Philip Fulmer, Cutcliffe, all those guys. John Chavis, who ended up being at LSU, and also the Miami Hurricanes. Remember Butch Davis? He was at Miami with Butch Davis. But we're going to talk about John Curtis High School when he was there, how he met his wife, and how he got to River Ridge. Through Coach Manny Michel, who was a coach at John Curtis and a former Tennessee Tech football player. There's so much we got to talk about, but Tommy, thank you for joining us, man.
Thanks for having me on, Lee.
I mean, I want to, you can't throw everything out in one little presentation on you, but National Coach of the Year twice in high school and college. You were the National Strength Coach of the Year at John Curtis. Tennessee native. Tell everybody your story, because a lot of people, they just know you from, you've been at LSU 20 years. You had all these guys. You trained and went to the NFL. We can't even mention all of them. But how you got to Louisiana?
Yeah. Well, a lot of people think that I'm from Louisiana because I've been here for so long. But I was born in West Tennessee in a small town called Summerville. And then we moved to Nashville. That's where I grew up, was in Nashville. I went to Springfield High School and went to Tennessee Tech. And while I was there, I became good friends with Coach Manny. And Manny and I were roommates. And after graduating from college, I coached for a year at Tech as, a young, grad assistant, student assistant, volunteer, you name it. Packed bologna for the post-practice meals and worked in the weight room. My strength coach, Jack Williamson, is the person that I always wanted his job. And so I helped him, and I helped with the offensive line there. And so once I finished at Tech, I was trying to get a job at my alma mater anywhere in Tennessee, but I wanted to be a strength coach. I didn't want to do PE. I didn't mind coaching football, but I wanted to be an everyday strength coach. And
you knew what you wanted.
Yeah, that's all I ever wanted to do, was to be a strength coach. And back then, even the University of Tennessee only had one strength coach, Bruno Pauletta, and when he started, he was the head strength coach at Tennessee and was a grad assistant, a former shot putter from Central Michigan. And, guys like him and my strength coach, Jack Williamson, motivated me to do something that a lot of people weren't doing. And I just had a vision. And believe it or not, JT Curtis had a strength coach. And so his strength coach, Jesse Barksdale, left to become an assistant strength coach at Tulane University. It opened up an opportunity for me at Curtis. And at the time, I was working at a state park in Tennessee as a recreation director and planning on joining the military. Because I couldn't get a job.
You were just trying to get
I
in.
was trying to get a job, and so I took so my options were to be a state park ranger, a prison guard, and the military. And so I was weighing my options because to be a park ranger, you had to take the civil service exam, and then when you do that, your resume, I guess, is spread throughout the state, all the different things. So I kept getting, for some reason, these job offers to be a prison guard. And so that kind of lets you know my background.
Yeah.
And then I went to see a recruiter. My dad was in the Army. So I was thinking serious about joining the military, going to officers training school. And then out of the blue, Manny, I was visiting my parents on the weekend. After working at the park, and our phone rang in the house, and it was Manny. And Manny said that they had a job opening at Curtis and wanted to know if I would take the job. And I was like, yes. And he goes, well, it's not your job yet, but you got to wait. So I went back to the park, and I just kept calling Manny and calling JT. And finally, the next weekend, I interviewed with JT on the phone. And he offered me the job without even knowing how much so my mom asked me when I hung up, how much are they going to pay you? And I was like, I don't know, Mom.
I just got the job.
I got the job.
I'm not going to armed forces.
Yeah, I'm not going to join the military, and I'm not going to be a prison guard. So I drove back to the park, loaded all my belongings up, and at the time I was actually sleeping in a tent at the state park.
Wow.
Which was cool. Living in a tent for the summer, but I packed all my stuff up in my car, drove back to Springfield, unpacked, repacked, and got on the highway and drove to New Orleans, and that's where it all started, man.
Wow. 1987 to 1994, which ended up being one of the best strength coaches in the country for LSU with 3 national championships. And strength coach here in 92. Coach, you met your wife moving to Louisiana. You got 3 sons we're going to talk about later in the show.
Yeah, so I was, I needed to get some typing done. I was doing our summer program, and back then you had typewriters.
Yeah, old school.
Yeah.
Handwrite, type.
Yes, and I didn't type so well, and I would make too many mistakes, and you had to do white out and stuff like that. So I had a lady at the school that was typing up my manual for summer training, and she had another job to do, so I started driving around River Ridge looking for somebody to do my typing.
Wow.
Walked into a business. They told me that a lady upstairs did typing, so I jogged upstairs, walked in, and there was this receptionist that was sitting at the front desk, and she had like this halo around her, and the lights were shining on her, and I immediately fell in love, and
found my typist and
yes,
a partner.
So fell in love. Didn't know her name, but she called me back to tell me that my typing was complete. So I go up there. We shared, some pleasantries, and she told me that she knew Joanna Curtis, that she was friends with Joanna, who was JT's daughter, and is now married to the strength coach at John Curtis, Tommy Moffitt. So I got in my car, sped back, called Joanna. Phone was busy because this was before call waiting. And so finally I got through.
Payphones, Coach, payphones.
I got through to Joanna, and she laughed and said, I just got off the phone with her. Her name is Jill. This is her number. So you call her. So we went out on a blind date that night, and the rest is history.
The rest is history.
Yeah.
Interesting story. See, everybody knows what we do now, but they don't know how you got there.
Yeah.
I was building tennis courts. Like Coach, I was living out of a 2-ton truck in Philadelphia, Boston. You're like, really? No, that was what I was doing out of high school.
Yeah.
I had no choice. Go get a job.
That's right.
Travel the country, building tennis courts 90 hours a week. Coach, we'll be back with more of Coach Tommy Moffitt. Great story. We're going to talk about Tennessee, Miami, LSU, Who was the strongest players that he's ever seen? A good one that I'm going to ask him is Peyton Manning and Joe Burrow. Who was stronger? That'd be a good answer. So much we got to talk about. We'll be right back.
Gros Savon Lodge, the true sportsman's paradise. Gros Savon Lodge has fresh and saltwater fishing, alligator hunting, waterfowl hunting, and eco tours located south of Lake Charles, Louisiana. Give them a call at 337-598-2357. That number to call again is 337-598-2357, and have the time of your life. Gage has served Louisiana for over 40 years. Let Gage create a custom tailored solution for your business and become your partner in technology. Give them a call today at 225-753-4243 and help your business get better connected with Gage.
Welcome back. Lee Brecheen, your host of Sports Scouting Report. Tommy Moffitt, one of the most known strength and conditioning coaches in the country. We're going to get to that. We're going to get to the strength and conditioning, his background, what he believes in, where he might be in the future. Right now he's a free agent. But we're going to talk about the coaches that he's been around, which is incredible. Coach told me off the air that when he hired strength coaches, and this man had a lot of assistants, you looked at who they coached with prior to hiring them. Like, where did you learn? Who did you learn it from?
Yeah.
You said that played a big...
Yeah, it played a very big role, knowing who their coaches were growing up, knowing what sports they played. And I also looked for, guys that were overachievers, that were strength and conditioning award winners. I mean, if you're going to be in the weight room, strength and conditioning had to be important to you. So I looked for guys that were strength and conditioning award winners, yes. Team captains, etc.
Coach, you work with Nick Saban at LSU, national championship with Nick. Philip Fulmer, national championship at Tennessee, your home state. J.T. Curtis, one of the greatest high school coaches ever in River Ridge at John Curtis High School. Butch Davis, national championship at Miami. Les Miles, national championship at LSU. Ed Orgeron, national championship. I mean, Coach, talking about the stars outside of Jill, your wife.
Yeah.
You've been a part of a lot of those rings.
Yeah, I've been blessed to have worked for some great coaches. And, Coach Curtis, it goes without saying, the type of man that he is, the type of leader he is, and the program that he ran when I was there. He taught me how to coach. He taught me a lot about people, and it was a great time in, in my growth as a man, being surrounded, in a Christian school and being around people of influence. It went a long way in teaching me to be a good person and to be a man. And if you have that, then all the other stuff comes easy. And then my wife and I talked, and everyone's goal should be to better themselves, and so we talked about it a lot, about what the next step was going to be. When I took the job at Curtis, I didn't say anything to JT, but I gave myself I made a 5-year commitment
Plan,
to stay there for 5 years. And I loved New Orleans. It was a great place to grow up, a lot of stuff going on. But then we started talking about what the next step was going to be, and I interviewed at a couple of places and had opportunities. If I would have pushed it, I could have gotten, college jobs. But when my wife and I would go out and she would introduce me to her friends, she would say, this is my husband, Tommy. He coaches at Curtis. He's going to be the next strength coach at the University of Tennessee. And I was like, what? But, behind every coach, there's a strong, strong woman. And so I got an opportunity to interview, and I was actually interviewing for a grad assistant in the women's strength and conditioning department, not
the
men. Yeah.
Okay,
so I interviewed with a guy named Jeff DeHoda at the conference in New Orleans, our national conference. And he told me that I was overqualified. And so he was going to give my resume to the head strength coach of the men's department. So he called me, John Stuckey, who was the head strength coach for football, but he was over all the men's sports. He called me, and my wife and I had a brother getting married, so we drove to Tennessee to see my brother get married, and then we drove over to Knoxville, and I interviewed to be a grad assistant in the men's department. And so by the time we got home, there was a message on our message machine, and it was Coach Fulmer wanting me to call him. So I called Coach Fulmer, and Coach Fulmer offered me a full-time position.
Wow.
So that's how I ended up at Tennessee.
Wow. And then, Peyton Manning, Jamal Lewis, John Henderson.
Well, I didn't coach John, but
all those great
Leonard
ones that
Little, Al Wilson, Peerless
man,
Price, Marcus Nash, Jay Graham, who's a college coach, James Stewart. There's so many. Chad Clifton, who played for the Green Bay Packers forever. Just on and on and on and on.
So y'all win a national championship there. They won one there.
Yeah, I'd already left to go to Miami when they won it.
And then T. Martin came back. They won it.
Yes.
He had a great year. And then when you left there, Miami.
Yes.
Miami Hurricanes.
Right.
Butch Davis.
Yes. So we were in Miami. We were playing in the first Orange Bowl. We were playing Nebraska. It was Peyton's senior year. We were playing Nebraska, and I was sitting in the lobby of the hotel after practice one day. The coaches were in a staff meeting. I was waiting for my boss, Coach Stuckey, to come out, and this gentleman walked up and said, "Excuse me, are you with the team?" And I said, "Yes, sir. I'm one of the strength coaches." He goes, "Is Coach Stuckey around?" I said, "Yeah, they're in this staff meeting and they'll be out soon." He goes, "You mind if I sit?" I said, "Absolutely not." So he introduces himself. He's Larry Coker, the offensive coordinator at Miami. So we're sitting there talking. And while the coaches are in the staff meeting, we probably chatted it up for probably 30 minutes. And when the staff came out, he goes, "Coach, it was great meeting you. Would you be interested in talking to our head coach tomorrow?" I didn't even know who the head coach at Miami was. I was oblivious to it. And he said, "Coach Davis is in town. We let our coach go. Would you be interested in talking about the head strength coach's job?" And I almost fell out of my chair.
I'm moving up. I need
yeah. And so I said, "Yes, sir." So that next day, I drove over to Coral Gables and met with Butch Davis, and Clay was a baby. We took Clay, me, Jill, and Clay, got one of the loaner cars from the bowl, drove over to Coral Gables from Miami Beach, and interviewed for the job and got offered the job at Miami.
Wow.
Out of the blue, Wow.
And then Larry Coker ends up being the head coach at
Miami.
Miami.
Coach Coker. So I was there for 2 years. And I left. Butch was there for one more season. That's they won they played Ohio State, I guess it was, and won the national championship. And then Coach left to go to the Cleveland Browns, and Larry took over as head football coach.
And then 2000 comes around.
Yeah.
Nick Saban gets the job at LSU.
Yeah. So that year we played in the Outback. Was it the Outback Bowl or the Gator Bowl? We played in the Gator Bowl. We played Georgia Tech, and Jill and I, and Clay Clay's probably 4 now. Aaron is a baby. So Clay was born in Knoxville. Aaron was born in Miami. So they paid us, instead of flying or taking a bus, they paid the coaches to drive to the bowl site. So we're driving to Jacksonville. We're driving to Jacksonville for the bowl game, and my wife goes, "LSU just hired a new football coach." She told me his name, didn't know it. She goes, "Wouldn't it be awesome if they called you and offered you a job?" I was like, "Honey, I got a great job. Everything is fine." So we get to the bowl site, and we had an event, and we're sitting in the room that night, and my wife's cell phone. By then, my wife had a cell phone. It was my mother-in-law, and she said, I just got off the phone with Pete Jenkins. Because Coach Jenkins had recruited Jill's brother, Billy.
And
Pete
he was friends with JT. Too.
Yes. Pete and JT were friends. JT's daughter introduced us, and Billy was heavily recruited. I don't know if Pete was at Auburn when he recruited Billy, if he was at Mississippi State. But anyway, Pete had my mother-in-law's number in his phone. So Pete called my mother-in-law, got our number, and she goes, they're going to be calling you. So then a few minutes later, Coach Jenkins called and says, hey, Tommy, I'm sitting here with Coach Nick Saban at LSU. He'd like to talk to you. I was like, what? And so Nick and I spoke for a few minutes, and I ended up coming to Baton Rouge to interview, got the job, and been here ever since.
National championship with Nick Saban.
Yeah.
And we'll go to, and then Les Miles, just to kind of, because we're going to go to some other stuff, but, won a national championship with Les. Mm-hmm. And then won one in 19, the year of all years, with Ed Orgeron.
Yeah, been blessed.
Well, out of all the national championships, Coach, I think fans love this, and I'm still a fan of, I grew up LSU fan here in Baton Rouge, but you watching that clock ticker, down to the final 20 seconds. What was I know they're all great.
Yeah.
But is there one that sticks out when that clock went to zero saying we're the champions?
Yeah, well, the first one was pretty special in 2003. I mean, golly, man.
Oklahoma.
That was, beating Oklahoma, beating them in the Sugar.
Tommy Harris, Outland guy, and all those guys.
Beating them in the Sugar Bowl where I had won
New Orleans
3 state championships with John Curtis, and then beat, Shaw High School was ranked #1 in the country.
Hank.
When Coach Tierney was there and they were loaded, we were loaded. So, being there for that first one was pretty special. But then in 2019, having a son on the team, having probably the greatest collegiate quarterback of all time, and that team that had been assembled and going 15-0, and, there was just so much surrounded, the win against Oklahoma, the win in the SEC championship, the win against Oklahoma, all of that just made 2019 was kind of the icing on the cake.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. And I want to mention his sons. Clay Moffitt played baseball at LSU. His other son, Aaron Moffitt, played football at LSU. Both Catholic high school grads, by the way, if you're Bear fans watching.
Cur Dogs.
And Brady Moffitt is currently a Bear at Catholic high school. And they all like that position tight end in high school, all three of them. They all built similar to Daddy Tommy.
Yeah.
And
Brady's the tallest.
Brady's tallest, and they're all 6'2"ish in height. And we're going to talk about them more when we come back. We're going to talk about who Coach thought was some of the strongest guys that he'd ever been around in his whole tenure. Maybe Miami, maybe a little bit Tennessee. And then maybe Joe Burrow. I'd think about how strong was he. I know quarterbacks don't do the 400-pound bench, but some of them can bench with the reps. But we'll ask Coach that one. Tommy Moffitt's our guest. We'll be right back.
So, hey, guys, just wanted to take a minute to tell you about Harvey Autos. If you need a new or used car, there's 3 great dealerships right here worth checking out. John Harvey Toyota, Harvey Subaru, and Lexus of Shreveport, Bossier City. Low prices, honest people. Tell them Lee sent you.
Welcome back. Lee Brecheen, your host, the Sports Scouting Report. Before we get back to Coach Tommy Moffitt, got a lot of good stuff to talk about. I want to mention, because baseball doesn't get the coverage football gets in the paper or on the news possibly, because you only got 3 minutes in the news now, Coach. But I want to mention everybody that won a state championship in baseball. In 5A, West Monroe won a state championship. It's been a long time. They're good in baseball. The Peterson family, they got like 5 kids playing D1 ball, but they won the state championship. South Terrebonne, 4A, never won it before, Coach. They overcame Hurricane Ida. The school was down. They didn't even go to school all year long, just about. Kudos to South Terrebonne and those kids winning the first ever at South Terrebonne. 3A, Lutcher. Lutcher wins championships and everything. Kudos to Lutcher in 3A. 2A, Rose Pine. We had Ethan Fry on. Boy, that was a big time win for them too, Coach. In 2A, Here we get into 1A. Oak Grove, what a competitive high school. Oak Grove in 1A won it all. And look, B, Class B, they don't have football. Shudrant, if you don't know where they're from, it's around Ruston, Louisiana.
Home of Kyle Williams.
Home of Kyle, and that's how I know. Kyle Williams told me where Shudrant was.
Yeah.
And then Class C, Hicks won it all. And switching to Division I, I want to say private schools, but the Division I, Catholic Bears. Won another state championship, Brad Bass.
Yes.
Division II, Vandy Catholic and Homa won. In Division III, St. Charles Catholic. Frankie Monica retired. I'm still, boy, what a coach.
Great man.
Great man. They got a great team. Everything at St. Charles is good. Calvary Baptist in 4, they won it. It's their 5th state championship. And in 5, Claiborne Christian, a little school around West Monroe, won their state championship. Coach, what do you think of the baseball state championship?
Hey, baseball's
teams?
a great sport, man. I've seen bunch of games.
When you watch it, you're a strength guy. You ever watch a baseball game and go, that's a strong guy? That's a strong guy.
Yeah. You know, so strength's important in all sports, but quickness and power, the way they generate power through their legs, you know, and you can always tell because we watch a lot of baseball in our household, and you can see by the swing, the precision of the swing, the angle, the launch angle, and the way they put, you know, everything into that ball. You can see it when it comes off the bat if it's going to be a home run or not. I love that part of it.
And Dylan Cruz looks like a strong guy.
Ooh, yes. He's very powerful. Very, very, very powerful.
And he's always got that same swing.
Yeah, it's very precise. And you can see when the launch angle, when the bat comes through, you can just see that ball coming off the bat, and it's out of there, man.
Coach,
you can kiss that baby.
Kiss it goodbye. What's his name says that? But yeah, when he hits it, it sounds like the baseball goes to smithereens.
Yeah.
You can hear it pop.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
Unbelievable. Speaking of strongest players, gave Coach a heads up on this question. Now, this is a very open question because Coach is a strength coach. You can't say just the bench press. You can't say just the squat, the clean, sit-ups, push-ups, doing 100s at the end of practice or two-a-days, which Coach was in charge of for 20 years at LSU. Most conditioned player ever. Coach, name some guys in your tenure, Miami, Tennessee, LSU, that were the ultimate warriors and super strong at different deals.
Well, so we're going to talk about the difference between Peyton and Joe, right?
Joe Burrow.
Yeah. All right. So we had some strong guys at Tennessee and Miami. But the best, well, we had a guy, Darwin Walker, who played for the Philadelphia Eagles, was also great. He was a North Carolina State transfer to Tennessee before people transferred. Darwin Walker at Tennessee was probably the strongest football player we had in my tenure at Tennessee.
Wow.
Miami, I wasn't there long enough. We had some, you know, Edrin James, of course, was very powerful, very strong. For his size, Ed Reed was. We had some guys, this guy, Mike Lawson, Ty Weiss, great story on Ty if we had time. So we had some strong guys, but the strongest bench press that I've ever seen, and he could do it, he did it numerous times, was Sean Jordan, our fullback here at LSU.
From El Paso, Texas.
Yes, from El Paso, MMA, ranked in the top 10 in UFC. Sean, and now Baton Rouge, lives here in Baton Rouge. Sean Jordan is the strongest bench presser that I've ever coached, and Sean could do it any time of the day, any day of the week, any month. He was by far the best bench presser. Also, Kevin Stelz, Craig Stelz's older brother from Rummel High School. Craig was a great bench presser. And another one, for his size, Jeremy Lawrence technically was from Faraday, Louisiana Faraday High School. Jeremy was the best bench presser technique-wise that I've ever seen.
And he had long arms.
Yes. Could stroke it. Grew up Great story. Grew up with a bench press in his bedroom. He said he had bench press every night before he went to bed, and it showed.
Faraday.
Yes, it showed. Best bench presser I've ever coached. Best squat, probably the strongest player total that I ever coached was Joe Barksdale from
Michigan.
Yeah, from Detroit, Michigan. Cass Tech, yes. Just total squat, power clean, jerk, bench press. The strongest human being I ever coached. Freakish. Then you throw in Kyle Williams, Melvin Oliver from Opelika,
Alabama.
You know everybody, Lee. It's golly. Melvin Oliver, Kyle Williams, freak shows, and we've had some Damian Lewis.
Mississippi.
Starting, for Seattle. Great, strong guy. Now, so you have guys that are strong. The big guys.
Yeah.
Mass plays an important role in that, and all those guys that I mentioned, except for Jeremy, were massive. But the strongest guy, pound for pound, in college.
I'm ready for this one.
Yeah, it's Patrick Peterson.
Wow.
Patrick was a freak show.
The cornerback from Florida.
Yeah, large cornerback.
200-pound.
Yeah, 200-pound. And, I had scouts to say he's too big, he's too big.
Massive.
And he did go through a phase and lost weight in the NFL as he got older and smarter. But, golly, that guy was powerful. Strongest guy, pound for pound, I ever coached in high school was he lives in Baton Rouge. His son was a state champion, I think, in wrestling at Catholic High. Jeff Domain. I had to throw that out there. Shout out to Jeff Domain. Pound for pound, strongest person I ever coached in high school. Fearless under a barbell. He was a Gale Hatch weightlifter. And still to this day, the highest percent ratio of anybody that I ever coached. So fearless with a barbell in his hand. See what else?
Cleans, maybe cleans.
Cleans. So that would be Lewis Neal. I think Lewis Neal had the school record at LSU. Sean Jordan hang clean 396 pounds 3 times. Whoa. But power clean was Lewis Neal. Kyle Williams, Kiki Mingo, as tall and long as Kiko. Kiki Mingo would have set the school record had he not. He had to have neck surgery. Long list of guys that tied for 300, between 391 and 396 pounds. There's so many guys, it's hard to imagine. Body weight stuff. We had a couple of ex-military guys that blew those records out of the water. They could do push-ups and chin-ups all day long. Daniel Graff. Do you know where Daniel Graff went to high school? This is a test right there.
He's a New Orleans guy.
Yes, New Orleans guy.
And I want to say Rommel.
Yes.
Archbishop Rommel.
Archbishop Rommel. Daniel Graff.
Walk on.
Yes, walk on, special teams player. I think probably has the school record for push-ups and chin-ups. So he's now Louisiana Highway Patrol SWAT, I think.
How many chin-ups? Because that's hard.
Oh, shoot.
I mean, if I could do 10
we've had guys do
school,
over 50 nonstop.
50?
Yeah, nonstop.
Chin-up bar?
Yeah, chin-ups. Legit chin-ups.
That's scary good.
When you have guys like Daniel Graff and some of the guys that we've had that are super lean, super powerful, that's actually, so we're going to talk about, you wanted to ask about the running. A lot of people make a big deal out of the type of some of the running that we did.
The conditioning.
The conditioning. And Coach Saban, it didn't matter if it was Philip Fulmer, Butch Davis, Nick Saban, Les Miles. They told me what they wanted me to do, and I administered it. And people will say 26 110s, that's too much for somebody to run.
Yeah.
That's, if you're in great shape, that's easy.
Yeah.
Like we had, Robert Royal is one of the best.
Oh, Edna Carr tight end.
Edna Carr tight end. Robert Royal, shout out to R Squared. One of the best runners 110 guys, and we've had a lot. Luke Sanders, Wes Monroe,
yeah.
Craig Stelz, Corey Webster. You know, we had so many guys that could just run. Kyle Williams never failed a rep in our conditioning test ever.
290 plus.
Yeah. And would complain that it wasn't enough, like it's too easy. And the list goes on and on and on. So we've had guys that could run. We had guys that would run with the morning group and then that would run ever how many? Let's say it's 20. And then come back in the afternoon and run with the afternoon group.
Tommy, who was the most intense head coach you've ever worked for?
It's Coach Saban, by far.
With conditioning?
Oh, yeah.
Like actually would watch, come in, check it out.
Yes, and knew more about it. And it's no disrespect to anybody I've ever worked for.
Yeah.
But that's why he is so good at what he does. He knew more about that, and that's how I got the job. I got the job at LSU based on my philosophy on off-season running and his philosophy on off-season running were a match. And when I got to that part, I went through the Monday workout because I had the inside help. I had Pete Jenkins and Derek Dooley, and they told me, man, you got to have a plan. If you can just tell them what you want to do for Monday. So I got through the Monday workout, and then he asked me about halfway through the Tuesday workout, he stopped and says, what do you like to do running-wise?
Save it.
And so I told him. He stopped the interview, sent all the coaches out, told them what to go do, took me in his office and offered me the job. And so he still is to this day, when it comes to knowing every aspect of the program, he's been the best.
Speaking of that, you told me there was more than one time, and I really admire this and respect you for this, Tommy, in an age of people leaving colleges at the drop of a hat. You made it back to Louisiana, where now your boys are raised.
Yeah.
Your wife is from New Orleans. LSU wins a national championship. You stay with all the other coaches, but Saban came after you more than once to leave LSU. And you might be the only person on the planet that I know that had told him no twice.
Yeah, well, you know, I love Baton Rouge. I love St. Aloysius Catholic High School. The quality of life that we have here with the weather and all. And, you know, you have to put, and me personally, I put my family before I put success and accolades and money and all of that. And so Coach Saban and I are still close friends. I respect him a great deal. And he's a wonderful coach, a wonderful person, a great man. And you have to respect what he's accomplished. And Coach is, you know, he's, you know, a person that I think not only I have a good relationship, but my wife and Miss Terry had a great relationship, and there's mutual respect, and that has stood the test of time. And, you know, me choosing to stay here in Baton Rouge, where a city that I love, you know. And it's always going to be my home base. No matter what I do in the future, Baton Rouge is always going to be home. We're never going to sell our house here.
Well, people love you, man. A lot of LSU fans are going to see this show, and they get to hear it from you.
Yeah.
You know, they get to hear it from your heart, get to know Tommy Moffitt. Here's some schools. Let me throw this out for Coach Moffett. These are guys that are head strength coaches, or were the head strength coaches that learned from Tommy Moffitt. Alabama, Ole Miss, South Carolina, Arizona, UTSA, UT San Antonio, Wyoming, Bowling Green, Nicholls State, Northwestern State, and the list goes on and on and on. And we got to mention this gentleman. And Gail Hatch watches the show, but what has Gail Hatch meant to you?
Yeah.
He's a legend, Baton Rouge legend, Northwestern State legend.
Yeah. Catholic High grad, Grizzly great.
Hall of Fame.
Hall of Fame, Grizzly
basketball
great.
guy, people don't realize.
You know, I don't have enough words. We don't have enough time for me to say what and how much Coach Hatch means to me. Not only that, but what he means to strength and conditioning, Catholic high school. My children, both Aaron and Clay, lifted in meets at the Spectrum on Monterey.
I remember those days.
So yeah, Coach Hatch was a mentor, an asset. Before, I used to call, because he would open the gym at the Monterey Spectrum, and then he would coach all of his guys, and he would always stay. And I knew when he was through training, and I would call him. It didn't matter when I called Coach Hatch, he would answer the phone. And I would ask him questions, and sometimes I asked some bad, stupid questions, and he would just laugh. He would just laugh, and he's just been such an influence to me and my coaching philosophy, and it's a training modality that has stood the test of time. There's been over 61 coaches that have come through our program at LSU that have gone on to become head coaches and assistant coaches all through the NFL, college, and high school in states all across the country, from New York to California to Florida to as far west as, I guess, Idaho, Wyoming. Brian Johnson, who used to be the head strength coach at Arizona, is now the head strength coach at Cal.
Wow.
Just got an extension, former LSU player. And
from Florida?
Yes, he played at Godby High School.
Yeah, Tallahassee.
Yes, and the 61 guys. And then you have guys like Matt Bruce, the strength coach at Catholic High School, 7-time world team member, 2-time Olympic team member.
Tommy, you know what I enjoyed going into Monterey? I actually was a member of the gym. And this is in the beginning. This is in the early 90s.
Yeah, so it was the Wallbanger still?
Wallbanger.
Yeah.
And I would walk in with my bag, and I'm just in there trying to stay in shape. And I see this 6'5" guy in a sweater with a stick.
Yeah.
And he's rolling that stick, and he heard me talking recruiting with another guy. So, you talking recruiting? And I got to know him.
Yeah.
And he, hit those guys with the stick. And he,
Yeah.
I can talk to you while I do that. I said, what are you doing? He said, this is my place back here.
Yeah. Booger McFarland trained
I
there.
see Warwick Dunn would come in. All the Curtis guys would come down from New Orleans.
Yeah.
People from Mississippi, Georgia.
Scott Holstein trained there, and now his sons are all quarterbacks, great quarterbacks. Yeah. Scott Holstein.
It was a Christian life with punter.
Yeah, punter and punted. So he was trained there. Now look, Scott trains his son. Now he uses, some other stuff that he learned, but his sons are products of Coach Gail Hatch, man.
And gyms aren't fancy.
No.
And this is an old, rugged area, and he was home, and Gail had so much passion, and I'm just working out.
Yeah.
And he's saying, I got an 80-year-old guy here I'm training for the Olympics. I got a 20-year-old. It was the most. I would go in there just to see Gail.
Yeah.
And I would work out on purpose, Tommy, to be in that room.
Yeah.
Just to be around him. I mean, he was contagious.
Yeah.
Just for me.
So here's an interesting story. I was reading this morning, a story about Boots O'Neill. Do you know Boots O'Neill? You don't know? All right, that's one guy.
That's one of them, man.
All right, Boots O'Neill is like 89 years old.
Wow.
He's a cowboy at the 4 Sixes Ranch in Texas, like a 250,000 acre ranch. Here's where I'm going with this. So this guy's 89 years old, rides a horse every day, the most famous cowboy of all time, all right? And when I was reading that story this morning about him, I thought of Coach Hatch, because there's people who like what they do, and then there are people who love what they do.
Yeah.
And the sport of Olympic weightlifting it's below baseball now. We were talking, as far as stuff goes, the sport of Olympic weightlifting, cycling, curling, they're way down the totem pole.
Yeah.
But Coach Hatch loved it. And he continued to do it as long as he could possibly do it. and out of the love and the passion of helping people, succeed in life. I was just this high school kid from, I was a high school coach from New Orleans, man. Coach Hatch didn't know me from Adam, but he did everything he could do in his power to help me be the best coach that I could possibly be, and I could never repay him.
And I'll tell you, he was proud of all those guys going to Olympics too.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. He had people almost 90 years old win gold medals in the senior
Chuck
division.
Meoli.
Chuck Meoli. I met Chuck.
Yeah.
That was
Walter
a strong
Imahara. So many great people that you met just hanging out. And that's the atmosphere and the culture that I tried to create my entire coaching career.
I know we don't have time to do all this, but I want to mention you also had a chance to be everywhere with all these guys, but we're talking about Power 5 teams. You answered that earlier. All coaches are different.
Yeah.
They all have their plan. You follow their plan.
Yeah.
Future college weight rooms. What do you think of the future of conditioning?
I think it's going to be based a lot on metrics, data metrics, and the way you break down the game. So with GPS tracking, accelerometers, the technology that we have today is really pinpointed. Football is a game of acceleration, deceleration, and change of direction. You have to be able to accelerate. That was something that Nick talked a lot about initial quickness. Nothing will ever replace size and speed, but a person's initial quickness, their ability to accelerate. Football is not a game of max speed. Now, max speed, a person's speed, it trickles down, but our fastest guys every Sunday when we'd look at the data were the guys on the kickoff team. The only time a player, wide receiver, or a running back finished top speed was when they broke a big long run and there wasn't anybody to catch them.
You're right, Coach. When you're watching like scouting, you're watching a running back that burst.
It's the burst, initial quickness. Stephen Ridley, the first time, and Stephen, had some ACL injuries in college and in the NFL, but one of the most explosive running backs that I ever saw. The first time I saw Stephen Ridley accelerate with the football, I said, that guy is going to be special.
And the one I grew up watching that had the first 5 yards, he wasn't a 40-yard guy, was Dalton Hilliard.
Yes.
His first 5 was him and Emmett.
Right, and that's because the game it's acceleration.
At the line.
How quick you can accelerate. And then, running backs break long touchdown runs because they can stick their foot in the ground, accelerate, change direction.
Angles.
And they beat the safety and it's over. Or they beat a corner and it's over. It has nothing, speed is important, but acceleration and deceleration is more important.
Thoughts, mom and dad's watching about private training, what to be careful for, what to do.
Well,
everybody's trying to train these kids away from the schools.
Yeah, so first of all, it's important to make sure that they're doing what their high school coach wants them to do. Part of the Hippocratic Oath, and as strength coaches, we didn't do that, but it states do no harm. And so a lot of guys, and we had, issues at LSU with guys going off on the weekend when they needed to be resting, they were doing extra. And eventually too much looks just like not enough. And guys get overworked, overtrained, and injured. So you got to make sure that they're doing what their high school coach wants them to do first, and then make sure that their private trainer does no harm.
I want to mention his sons. We mentioned their names. Let me mention this. Clay Moffett was a pitcher at LSU, his oldest son. Aaron Moffett was a tight end H-back, and now coaching, right?
Aaron is coaching. Clay coaches too.
They're both coaches.
Yeah, Clay coaches guys in the morning, professional collegiate baseball players, professional football players at Traction. He trains them, but he's a finance what do you call
Financial advisor?
Financial advisor, estate planner for Altus Wealth Management here in town, Jesse Daigle. Aaron just finished an internship at Baylor University. He's back home studying for the CSCS, doing personal training, coaching. Does a good job. I watched him yesterday. Does a good job. And then Brady is playing right tackle now for Catholic High. Yeah, he's 255 pounds. Bigger than both Clay and Aaron.
6'4" now?
No, he's not quite 6'4". I'm saying he's probably going to be 6'3", but he's. I was a late bloomer. Clay and Aaron both were, late growers. I think Brady's going to be. I hope Brady's 6'4", but if he's not 6'4", let's be the best 6'3" guy you could possibly be. But Clay won his championship in baseball. Aaron won one in football, and now Brady has a chance, I think, to win his third state championship in football if they're successful.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, it's crazy, man.
The Bears.
Shout out again, third time in a row to the Curtis.
You know what's crazy, Tom?
Look, I'm repping my orange
today.
What's
crazy, though? Because you were at Curtis and you're real good friends with
Yeah.
JT. But now the battle now is the Curtises and the Catholic Highs of Baton Rouge.
Right. And, well, as you have two great high school athletic programs, Curtis is always going to be there. And it doesn't matter if it's basketball, volleyball. We don't have to talk football, baseball. They're always track and field. Preston Curtis has been phenomenal as a track and field coach at Curtis. And then you have, Catholic High.
Jeff Curtis in baseball.
Yeah, Jeff in baseball. They do such a great job there.
And by the way, Brother Martin.
Yeah, I know.
Bird.
Yeah.
C.E. Bird in Scotlandville. Same guys every year.
Yeah. They outwork people, man. And that's what it's all about. We've been blessed, to have our kids in St. Aloysius and Catholic High. I made a point now, and when I first got here, Jill wanted them to go to U High. I wanted him to go to U High. Jill's Catholic, I'm not.
Okay.
So I was, I thought it would be great for me to be able to go over there and see him at lunch and go watch him practice. Yeah. But Jill was adamant that they're going to go to Catholic school.
It worked out.
And it worked out. Both schools have been phenomenal. And one of the major reasons for me staying here was my children.
And then you go to Catholic High and you go to that beautiful weight room who one of your guys, Bruce.
Yeah, Matt Bruce.
Is running the weight room at Catholic High.
Yeah, wonderful. So so the equipment that they have in there, True Fitness equipment, a former intern of ours and now Alabama assistant strength coach, Jason Poeth, and Buster Bourgeois, Catholic High great. Okay. They own the company that built the weight room at Catholic High. Buster Bourgeois was a great, he played fullback. So this backfield, Corey Gaines, who played safety at the University of Tennessee, was a quarterback. Buster Bourgeois, the first American to beat a Russian in weightlifting in 20 years, was their fullback. Wow. And then you have Warwick Dunn and as a running back. How about that high school? And then you have Travis Minor.
Yeah, Kevin Franklin. Kevin Franklin.
Yeah, so how about that backfield?
Shanklin.
Yes. How about that backfield at Catholic High? Unbelievable.
They are running back Catholic High. Let's just throw that out there right now. I mean, there's some other schools.
Yeah. Clyde Edwards-Hilaire.
Clyde Edwards. I mean,
they've had some great ones, man. Darius Guys,
They've had 7 signed in the last 2 years that we didn't even mention.
Isn't that amazing?
And then they got 3 coming up. They got Barry Remo coming up, and they got a couple of more.
They had when Clay was a sophomore or junior, they had a guy that signed, Khalil Thomas signed at McNeese State. Was unbelievable. I tried to get Frank to recruit him, and Frank wouldn't recruit him.
You're like, I know this team.
Yeah.
My kid's on this team. I know these guys. Tommy, I really appreciate you taking the time.
Thank you.
To be on our show.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
You've always been utmost nice to me. When I would visit LSU, and I say this with respect, the first place I'd want to go is to the weight room and talk to you.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Because I knew that you were accessible even though you were busy. And when I'd go, I'd always run into something very interesting and knowledgeable. It might be one of your former players in there talking to you. It might be an NFL scout in town, and you'd never said leave.
Yeah.
I just sat in on it. I never wrote about anything, but everybody's there, and you're just seeing all this one family of people that went in and out of your weight room every day besides you guys. And I know you're a free agent right now. You can do whatever you want.
Yeah.
And wherever you go, whatever you do, man, I know you're going to be.
Thank you.
You're going to be on top of the world.
I appreciate that.
Tommy Moffitt, legend, and I'm glad Gail Hatch talked about Gail today. All the great people, J.T. Curtis, Les Miles, Ed Orgeron, Nick Saban, Philip Fulmer, Coach Coker, who was fired like a lot of those Miami coaches. Yeah. And that's the thing. This profession is crazy, huh, Coach?
Yeah. Greatest profession. Great. I've heard it said, great job, terrible, what was it? Great profession, terrible job, or something along those lines. But there's two types of coaches, those that have been fired and those that are fixing to get fired. And so that's just the way it goes.
And this man's going to be wherever he wants to be when he decides, probably maybe when his son's playing football at Catholic. You never know. You want to see him play.
Yeah.
Be sure to watch the show. Oh, by the way, Wednesday we have Neville and their top recruit, Lance Hurd's a big 6'7", 290 offensive tackle who started at Bastrop High School, transferred to Neville 2 years ago. Him and Will Campbell were monsters together at Neville. He's leaning LSU. Friday, St. Stanislaus coach joins us, their head coach. We talk about Miles Brennan playing there, the Heisman Trophy winner from the 40s. Doc Blanchard played there, and also Stephen Peterman.
Yeah.
Went to
Great
St. Stanislaus.
LSU football player.
20 former LSU players have went to St. Stanislaus. You know I'm a history guy, and I always throw those out on the show. That's a 40-minute interview Friday. Go to YouTube. Go to anywhere you get your podcast. If you're over 50 and you don't do podcasts, just call me. I'll help you out. I'm learning. Jace will help you out. We're on YouTube. We're on Podbean. We'll see you real soon.
Thanks for listening to the Sports Scouting Report podcast with Lee Brecheen.